Chelsea fans, welcome back to Talking Chelsea. Welcome back to your Chelsea news. Kepa finally says goodbye to Chelsea. Enzo Maresca wants to start the season with 9 attackers. We have an update regarding Tyrique George's Chelsea future. Not only that, but updates regarding Carney Chukwuemeka, Renato Veiga, Mohamed Kudus, and a deal has been agreed for Malick Fofana. Now, of course, I'll be giving my own thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported, but more importantly, I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. And before we get into the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content. We're on the road to 10k by the end of 2025. Kicking things off, Kepa officially says goodbye to Chelsea in an Instagram post in which it says, "After 7 unforgettable years, the time has come to close a very special chapter in my life. Chelsea was my home, my family, and the place where I grew both as a footballer and as a person. I arrive full of dreams and I leave with unforgettable memories, titles like the Champions League, Europa League, UEFA Super Cup, Club World Cup, but above all, moments shared with incredible people on and off the pitch. Thank you to all the coaches, the staff, my teammates, and to most of all, to you, the fans. Wearing this badge has been an honour and a source of pride. Now a new chapter begins and I face it with the same passion and commitment as always. I leave it with a heart full of gratitude, with love and respect. Kepa Arrizabalaga." Now look, you guys know how I feel about Kepa. I'm not just going to sit here and throw shade at him. I personally think it's good business to get £5 million for him and he goes across to Arsenal. Cool. It is another Chelsea player that seems to go to Arsenal. There's such a long list of transfers where this has happened. And again, this makes a lot of sense. Chelsea spent a lot of money on Kepa. When we bought him at the time, he was the world's most expensive goalkeeper. And I felt like we were pressured into it because of the way Courtois kind of threw us under the bus and left, and we kind of panic bought him. We knew that he had a lot of potential. We knew that he could be a fantastic goalkeeper, but I don't think he was worth £70 million at the time. I'm pretty sure he would agree with that as well. It brings a lot of pressure. Now, he had a very turbulent Chelsea career. Obviously, we used him for a while, and people found out that he just couldn't save anything from distance. He just couldn't. So we conceded screamers after screamers after screamers. He had that moment where he refused to come off as a substitute in the cup final. There's a few bad and good things as well with Kepa, but what I will say is I appreciate things like that. I know this is kind of like standard PR for players to come out and say thank you for everyone and whatnot, but to be honest, I didn't realise it'd been 7 years that he was part of this club because he hasn't played for us as Chelsea's goalkeeper for what, 2, 3, maybe 4 years. Obviously, he had that loan spell at Bournemouth and he had a good season. Obviously, he's done well enough to be picked up by Arsenal, and I wish him all the best. I really, really do, because he gets off of our wage bill, and again, it kind of cuts ties completely, which I think should have been done a few years ago, in all fairness. And that's not me being horrible or being disrespectful, but I think for both parties it would have made a lot more sense if he wasn't going to be part of our plans. He wants to play football while he is still getting on, but still has years left as a keeper, and Chelsea just don't want to be paying him 6-figure wages a week. But, you know, good luck, Kepa. I hope you have fun over at Arsenal being the backup goalkeeper. Hopefully we play against you and you concede lots of goals. That's all I can say, really. But in all honesty, look, fair play. He put in a shift. He had some good moments. He had some bad moments. Wasn't the worst keeper we ever had, let's be honest. Definitely wasn't the best. But for me personally, as a fan that remembers him and lived through Kepa, I remember more negative than I do positive. But I suppose that's how it always goes, right? But I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions down below about Kepa. Are you sad that he's going? Are you grateful that we've got some money and he's leaving? What do you think about him going to Arsenal? As you know, Arsenal were considered a Chelsea player's retirement home. We're very curious to know your thoughts below. Do you think he was a good keeper for us? Do you think he was a bad keeper for us? And what are your thoughts on this final message? Matt Law has reported that Maresca wants a first-team squad of 22 or 23 players, 8 or 9 of whom he wants to be attacking options. This is wild, but I fully understand it. When you look at the Chelsea squad currently in terms of the players we have on the roster and the players we're looking to sell, I don't feel like there'll be many more transfers. I think there'll be opportunistic, like market opportunities for sure. And I feel like Chelsea is still going to go in for potentially a Mohamed Kudus or a Malick Fofana, as well as a centre-back, potentially a goalkeeper. We're hoping for a goalkeeper. But in terms of the 8 or 9 attackers, we are stacked right now. But you have to realise we have so many players that we can potentially offload. Felix, Nkunku. There's a lot of interest in Madueke right now. Does Jackson stay? I think he will, but again, potentially he goes, we get someone else in, but he will more than likely stay. You've got a lot on that list that you go through of the 10s and the wingers and the strikers. People that, you know, Datro Fofana, David Washington, people that just, Amado Broya's on the book still. A lot of players we're just looking to offload. And I think it does leave us with around 8, 9-ish depending on the ones with question marks, like your Nkunkus and a few others who, will more than likely leave, but you never know, they could stay. Madueke with a question mark as well. I think it actually leaves us with about 9. But that doesn't mean that Chelsea won't go back in the market for another left winger, because we're going to talk about it later on in the video with Mohamed Kudus, Malick Fofana and all that type of thing, as well as a centre-back and a goalkeeper. Now, to go in with 8 or 9 attackers seems like overkill. But with Maresca's system and the way that he rotates his players through the season and the way that he wants to adapt his tactics, we're now starting to see Maresca use his 4-2-2-2 system. I think it makes sense. You've got essentially a front 4 and you've got, backup for each position. That's 8 people already. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I think Maresca's trying to play it safe here in terms of I want to make sure that we don't have the same mistake as we did in January, where you go club loan out a few players and then all of a sudden we're desperate in a few key areas. I think he wants to be safe by going into the season with players he trusts, profiles that he can play with, profiles that he knows can have instant impacts into the system, and have a nice rotation within the squad. So it sounds like a lot. You think 8 or 9 attackers, that's wild. But when you really boil it down, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, having that rotation, that key, is key for going across the entire season with all these competitions to compete in and go far in, rather than throwing them away and conserving for other competitions. So I think this is a really smart move. Again, when you look at the long list of attackers that are still currently on the books, you'll be surprised how many are still there, and you'll think, well, we are going to get rid of 9 or 10 of them anyway. So yeah, I think what it really means is there's going to be 1, potentially 2 signings in the attacking part of the squad, and then hopefully it goes for centre-back and potentially a goalkeeper as well. But I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Out of the long list of players we have in our squad and the attacking players we have and brought in, who do you think makes the cut? Who do you think gets sold? Let me know down in the comments. Matt Law has also reported that Chelsea will decide on the best development plan for Tyrique George. The club rate him highly, but may decide a loan would represent the best next step in his career path. If I'm being brutally honest, I spoke about this briefly here on the channel in the last week or so. I think that a loan move would be the best decision for Tyrique George. As much as I want to see him get minutes, I want to see him really kick on this season, and he's been so impressive with the limited minutes and opportunities he's had in a Chelsea shirt last season, scoring vital goals, getting assists, being just an exciting player that you can see has got raw talent that's slowly starting to develop all the key attributes that we need in our squad. He's a fantastic player. There's no dispute in that, and I would love to keep him. But realistically, I don't see him getting too many more minutes with the type of signings that we are bringing in and the players we are keeping in the squad for next season. Again, I could be wrong. He might be part of the plans for next season as that rotation on the left-hand side. He may well be. Maresca might just say, do you know what, we're going to keep him for next season. However, I think if we want the best out of him, he wants the best for himself, playing regular first-team football, which he deserves to be with the sort of skill set he's got. I do think a loan makes a lot of sense for him next season. Hopefully it's something like a Premier League loan. I think a lot of Premier League clubs would love to have a player like Tyrique George. Whether or not it's a Championship club, because he can play every single game, and it's a lot more physical, a lot more competitive in terms of, there's a lot more riding on the Championship. There are a lot of pundits, players, whatever, will also make the distinction of, the Championship's the most competitive league in the world. The Premier League is obviously the echelon, right? It just is the upper echelon, but you've got more games in the Championship, more to play for, and it's a lot more physical and stuff like that. So I think that'd be amazing in terms of his development. I'd love to see him get a Premier League move, like a loan. I'd love to see that. Just depends on whether these clubs value him to be ready to get the minutes and get the development on a loan next season for them, or if it's going to be a lower league one. But very curious to know your thoughts. Do you want to keep Tyrique George as part of our first team for next season? Do you think he's going to get a really good improvement on the minutes and development as he did on this season, or do you feel like a loan move is the best situation for both parties? Matt Law has also reported that Madueke is attracting the most interest, but Chelsea are anticipating interest in Jackson and are prepared to sell Nkunku. This situation is very interesting to me, and again, want to react to it and speak to you guys down in the comments. We've had some really good conversations in the last few weeks down in the comment section. I don't want Madueke to be sold, and particularly I don't want Nicolas Jackson to be sold. And I know there's a lot of Chelsea fans that would quite happily sell both of those players, and I get it. But I feel like Chelsea are being really smart here. I think they're being really, really smart, because they've come off of a season where, Chelsea as a club is at a high in terms of recent years, where it's been quite turbulent, and now the squad's settled. We've got Champions League football. We won the European trophy. Jackson had a very weird season, if I'm being honest, but it was a slight improvement on his first season in terms of from the outside looking in, right? Other than the red cards that he randomly starts getting now, and that dip in form. But his overall play is a lot better. People are now starting to notice what Jackson can bring to a team, and they all know that he needs to improve on his finishing. And obviously Nkunku, we know that Nkunku wanted to leave, and all of a sudden he's starting to play really well in the Club World Cup. Maybe it's because he's in the shop window and he wants to get that move as quick as possible. Or he's trying to fight his way back into Chelsea's first team. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts down below. A lot of interesting comments on yesterday's video regarding Nkunku. But I feel like Chelsea are being smart here. They're not saying that these players are not untouchable. They are going to listen to offers. They don't want to sell them, but they're willing to listen to offers. And they've slapped price tags at around 50, 60 million pounds on Jackson and Madueke. And the reason they're doing that is because if they now have go into this season and it's a lot quieter because we've got these new additions and the squad develops and they maybe have a quieter season, the most you could really sell them for is going to be around 35, 40 million. And it's not really going to make a lot of sense for a club like Chelsea who want to make profit on them. Obviously, they want them to do well. So next season, they would really have to kick on and improve to get more value later on down the line, but also cement themselves as part of Chelsea's long-term future within the squad, right? But if they sell them now, you can ask for 50, 60 million off the back of a half-decent season and a good season for the club. Not specifically the players, but for the club. Madueke's had a decent season. There's a lot of stats that he's in the top 10 or top 1% of in terms of Premier League wingers. And Jackson, well, they're both 23 years old. They're young, they're developing, they've got experience internationally and Premier League experience. They can still develop and blossom into these bigger, better players. So I think right now, Chelsea are playing it smart, saying, look, if you give us 50, 60 million for those, like each, yeah, cool. Yeah, we'll go for that. But if it's anything less than that, we don't need to listen to the offers because there's still time and room to improve for these players. When it comes to Nkunku, like I said, I think he's in the shop window. I would like the emotional side of me would like to think that he's trying to fight his way back into the first team to be part of our plans for next season because he has started to play with a lot more passion. He's scoring goals. He's getting involved in creating chances. He's pressing a lot more, which we haven't seen for like 2 years. Just seems like he's really enjoying his football again. But I think the reality is, like I said, he's in the shop window, wants to get that move away, and I think the harder he works, the better he looks as a player and how much he performs. Chelsea can then also raise that asking price as well, but more clubs come in, start sniffing around. So I think the reality is Nkunku will probably leave this summer. But it's interesting to know that Madueke and Jackson. Madueke is an interesting one. It's Newcastle, it's Arsenal. Jackson, he's got a few interests from Italian clubs, a couple of Premier League clubs that haven't really been spoke about too much. So it would just be interesting to see how it pans out. I think that we will keep Jackson and Madueke. Well, actually, I think that Madueke could go if we go get Mohamed Kudus. I think it'd be a one-in, one-out type deal. Jackson, I do think we'll keep in that forward rotation personally because we've got Delap, we've got Guiu, who'll probably go on loan. We've got João Pedro who can play in that role as well. So I don't know. I see Jackson staying. Madueke potentially could go, and I think Nkunku will go. But I would love to know your thoughts and opinions down below on this entire situation. Do you think Chelsea are making a good move by slapping higher price tags to ask for more money? Because if they get that money, we're quids in, and if they don't get that money, there's still time for these players to develop. Or do you think we should just sell them? Or do you think we should just keep them as they're a vital part of our squad going forward? Fabrizio Romano has reported that Chelsea believe Gittens and João Pedro are players that can make an instant impact, but also have lots of room to grow into even better players. That's why they decided to go for these two options. And I wanted to speak about this briefly because this kind of feeds into what we just spoke about Noni Madueke and Jackson with the question marks over them. Are they going to stay or are they going to go? Because when it comes out with briefings like this saying that, we've got Gittens, we've got Pedro because they're instant impacts who can still grow into great players. Obviously, João Pedro's got Premier League experience. Gittens got the City academy stuff. Chelsea academy stuff. Obviously playing at Dortmund. Got a lot of experience for a youngster in that sense. It does make you think that, there must be question marks over the likes of Madueke and Jackson. The one thing you can say about that is Madueke, some people say that he gets very complacent because there wasn't really a lot of competition on that right-hand side. And then obviously we've got Pedro Neto and it was between those two. But then during the season, when we were one left winger down, there was also this introduction of Noni on the left or on the right. So then it's almost like, he knows he's going to play either way. I personally think that they're top professionals and they're going to fight for their position. And I like the sort of arrogance that Madueke carries himself with. I think you need that in a team, the grit, the sort of that arrogance of backing yourself to be a better player. But I'm really happy with the signings of Gittens and João Pedro. Like I said about João Pedro, the more I see about it, more research about it, more I speak to you guys about it, it makes a lot more sense. And Gittens, I've been talking about how excited I am about that type of signing for a long, long time because I just think it's exactly what Maresca would need in his system on that left-hand side. But I just wanted to speak about this rather quickly and trying to get your opinions on it as well. Do you feel like when you hear and see stuff like this, that kind of leads you to believe that other players like your Jacksons, like your Maduekes could be potentially sold this summer? Or do you think they just kind of say it, just kind of big up the players that we've just signed? Nizar Kinsella has reported that Carney Chukwuemeka is set to stay at Dortmund for the duration of the Club World Cup campaign after an agreement was made with Chelsea last night. Now again, this is a sad story for Carney Chukwuemeka for Chelsea fans. This one hurts. But this is always like the silver lining, in my opinion, because Carney Chukwuemeka came to Chelsea. We saw him play. He looked great, and he plays in that sort of 10 role. Can play a little bit deeper in midfield, but mainly is that 10. And he looked class. He looked so good. You could tell he was a bit raw, but he was developing his game. But he just looked so good. And then he gets injured, and then he's out for a long period. Then he comes back, and then he plays well, scores a goal. Then he gets injured again, and then we don't see him for a long time. And during that period of him being injured, reoccurring injuries throughout the season, you have other players in his position raising the bar so high that I don't think Carney Chukwuemeka gets into our squad. We then loan him to Dortmund at the start of last season. Dortmund do love him, and they're like, cool, we want to buy Carney. We'll give you 40 million euros for him, or 40 million pounds, whatever the asking price was. And Chelsea were like, yeah, 40 million, you can have him. Dortmund then go, actually, we don't want to spend that. We'll see how this loan move goes. And now they're actually saying, we don't want to lose Carney. If we can't buy him right now, can we have him on another loan deal? So he's technically still a Chelsea player, which is good for us. But it's also great for Carney because he can stay at a club that he's clearly enjoying and playing good football for, and that club clearly loves the way he plays, for another season to really either boost his value in Chelsea's books, or for Dortmund to go, we're actually going to pay the fee that you want for him because we want him to keep him, or even Chelsea. Chelsea could be like, do you know what? He's really developed over at Dortmund for the last 2 seasons. There's a place for him in our squad. We'll bring him back. Now, being honest, I don't think Enzo Maresca would go after someone like Carney Chukwuemeka, recall him from loan. I don't think he is really an Enzo Maresca style player. And like I said, the other players we have in the positions that Carney plays, in my opinion, are a level above, or they've been brought in because they're at a different stage of their journey, or got more experience in certain aspects and fit Enzo Maresca's system a lot more. However, it would have been so sad for Chelsea if we ever sell, or when we ever sell, Carney Chukwuemeka, because this is like a what-if story with Carney. What if he stayed fit at Chelsea? What type of player would he become? Because honestly, this guy is awesome. Every time we see him play, he's exciting. He fights for the badge, and he's just so skillful. So I'm kind of glad that it's just a loan that's being agreed to go back to Dortmund for a season, because that means he's technically still a Chelsea player. And again, the romanticist in me, in terms of the football connection, is I kind of feel like there's always that sort of fairy tale ending potential that he does come back to Chelsea and he's part of our plans. But realistically, he's technically a Chelsea player for another season, but Dortmund will probably buy him. And if they don't, another suitor will come by him, because I tell you what, as the years go on and as more football he plays at the top flight, the more he develops, the more clubs are interested. Especially when you think of, we brought Andre Santos back in, who can play in that role as well, who's had that development season, who looks fantastic. I just don't see a way back in for Carney Chukwuemeka, unfortunately, which is sad for Chelsea fans, but at the same time, it makes sense. So I'd love to know your thoughts and opinions about Carney Chukwuemeka, the whole what-if type player at Chelsea. Do you wish that he stayed fit? Do you think he would still be in the Chelsea's first team if he could get over those recurring injuries? Or do you feel like it is the right move just to kind of cut ties and let him go to Dortmund? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. Fabrizio Romano has reported that Tottenham are seriously working for Mohamed Kudus and are speaking to his camp. Chelsea remain interested and are keeping a close eye on the situation with one other club. Let's see what they decide. Race still open. Now, when I spoke about Mohamed Kudus in the last 2 videos in depth, so this is going to be a very quick one, and this is something I just wanted to kind of put across to you as thoughts over the days between uploads and what I'm seeing online. The reason I get so excited about this is not only is he a level raiser in terms of player. I think you bring in someone like Mohamed Kudus, you mean business. He's a workhorse. He's got all the attributes, right? He's an upgrade on that right-hand side. You have Pedro now, you have Mohamed Kudus. Kudus can play as a 10. He plays on the right-hand side. He could even play on the left if you really wanted to. He will play wherever you put him to a very good standard. But if you do sort of monitor this situation, and Chelsea are kind of having a little look and Tottenham are really going for it, that could force Chelsea to make a move of, all right, we're going to get Kudus and Madueke goes this summer as a one in, one out. Or it could be a case of, do you know what? We're going to back Madueke and let Kudus go to Tottenham, because people have forgotten, or some of you haven't, you've been reminding me in the comments, Kudus originally turned us down when he was making that move from Ajax to West Ham. And no one really knows why he turned us down, but he did. He went to West Ham, and now there is an availability of him leaving this summer. we don't want him to turn Chelsea down twice. I think if we go in for him heavily, as of right now, I don't see Kudus turning it down. But I do think it is that one in, one out, and Madueke would be gone. So it's very, very interesting. Chelsea could also be in what we did historically with Willian, where we let Tottenham do all the legwork. He does his medical there. Then Chelsea pick up the phone and go, do you want to come to us instead? We'll pay you the money. And Kudus goes, cheers, thanks for the medical, peace. I'm going to Southwest London. So there could be an element of that to it. But I feel like they're going to, keep an eye on this. It makes a lot of sense. Kind of look from afar, monitor the situation. If things speed up excessively, I think that Chelsea will then go and act if they want to. Or pull their name out of the hat straight away. They'll go, right, this is moving too quick for us, or they'll go, right, we need to get him right now. So I just wanted to have that little part about Kudus because I just want to keep this hot, keep this fresh, because I really do see this developing soon. I know we've got a long time of the transfer window left, but this seems to be speeding up, and there's more and more noise about Chelsea keeping an eye and trying to push, talk to his camp and trying to see what the situation is financially. But then there's also these rumours around Madueke going to Arsenal, or a lot of clubs interested, etc. So I'm just excited about it and interested about it. But I'd love to know your thoughts down below. Do you think Chelsea will secure Kudus this summer? Do you think we're going to let Tottenham do the legwork and do the medical, and then Chelsea swoop in and hijack the deal like we did with Willian? Or do you think that Chelsea are just trying to string Tottenham along so they end up paying West Ham more money, and Chelsea are going to keep Madueke and not go for Kudus? Fabrizio Romano also reported that Bayern Munich are interested in Renato Veiga. There are several clubs keen on Veiga who can leave Chelsea on a permanent deal. For me personally, this is a sad, sad time, because Renato Veiga has become like a fan favourite in such a short period of time. We signed him, he come across, and you could see from his aura, the way he spoke in interviews, the way he plays for Chelsea. He's a fantastic player that can play left back, centre back, or as a number 6. Played those roles very well for Chelsea in the limited opportunities he's got. Seems to love the club, has all the passions, got involved with the fans. Then we loaned him out because he wanted to play central rather than playing left back. And Maresca was like, well, we've got Colwell, we've got Fofana, we've got all these other centre-backs, so I want you as a left-back, really, or as a 6 to cover Caicedo and Enzo when needed. He goes to Juventus, has a great loan spell there. I think he got injured for a period of time, but overall it was a good spell at Juventus, and you can see how good this player is. I think we bought him for like 15, 16 million. And now he is part of that the squad coming back to Cobham that is available to sale this summer. So I feel like Renato Veiga, I don't think he was intentionally bought to be flipped. I think that's just how it's planned out for him. Usually when there's players that have been bought in at a young age, for a relatively good fee with high potential to then just sell for profit. I immediately think of like David Washington, Datro Fofana. That was the kind of plan for those. And if they break through because they're amazing, then, it's kind of like a bonus. But Renato Veiga, I think he was genuinely bought as a gem who we knew was going to sort of develop and kick on, but he was also going to be part of Chelsea's plans, but inevitably he isn't. So I'm just really sad that Veiga is up for sale and he can go this summer, because I genuinely think we still need him. If he was willing to play left back, he'd be Cucurella's cover, and I'd be happy with that. He can also play centre back, and he can play as a 6. We're stacked in the 6 role, we get that, but there is a variety of positions where I feel like he'd get minutes across the season. I think he's a fantastic defender, whether he's playing centre-back or left-back or as a 6. I think he's great on the ball. He's good in the air. He's very vocal. He can lead a line, command the line when needed. And we've only seen him on such a short period of time, and we already know that much about him. So you just know that he is a fantastic player. So I'd love to know your thoughts about Renato Veiga down below in the comments. Would you keep him at Chelsea even if he doesn't want to play left-back, or would you sell him for profit this summer? Were you a fan of Renato Veiga in the limited minutes that he got last season? And who do you think he goes to? You think he goes to another Premier League club, or does he go abroad? Fabrizio Romano has reported that Nottingham Forest has agreed to a deal with Lyon for Malick Fofana, but there is no agreement yet on the player's side. The player is waiting for Champions League clubs. Chelsea are still keen on the player. Then Miguel Delaney has also reported that Lyon want at least £51.5 million for Malick Fofana, and the clubs interested are Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool, Fulham, Forest, Bayern Munich, Leipzig and Napoli. Due to lots of interest, any deal is still some way off, with Lyon hoping to drive the price up. Now, when I saw this last night, I was like, Chelsea need to act now, because I would sacrifice the signing of Mohamed Kudus to go get Malick Fofana. And I know that sounds absolutely wild, because Fofana is still a youngster and Kudus has got prem experience, he's prem proven, he is a workhorse, and honestly he's a fantastic player. I'd be happy with either, really. But if it was the choice of one or the other, I would go for Malick Fofana personally, because of the development he's got, the season he's just had as a youngster, the unpredictability of him as a wide man that can go left, can go right, he can beat a man, he can finish, he's so smart in the final thirds with his decision making, he's still extremely extremely young. I just think he's an exciting player on that left-hand side. Him and Gittens would absolutely tear it up. That's just my opinion. I'd love to know your thoughts below regarding Malick Fofana. Obviously, Kudus is amazing, but there's also been a lot of you guys in the comments saying, well, where's he going to play? Who does he replace in the team? Like, it seems like we're just trying to stockpile on that right-hand side. Players would have to leave. Now, of course, if Madueke then goes, then there is a space for Kudus. But regardless, there's so many clubs interested. Now, the interesting thing is Lyon's just been relegated to the division below because of their finances. And I don't want to go down like conspiracy routes or anything like that, but isn't like the owner of Forest and the owner of Lyon like really close or have some weird connection to trying to help them out or something like that? I don't know. I saw some things about it this morning. I don't really know too much about that side of it. But Lyon want to drive the price up. £51.5 million for Malick Fofana. It's a lot of money for a youngster. But off the back of the season he has and the potential he's got and the way that he plays, I can see them getting 50 million for him. It's just dependent on what club is going to take the risk and pay the 50 million. If he goes to Nottingham Forest, that'd be unbelievable watching him at a club like Forest throughout the whole season in the Prem, because people will be like, oh wow, okay, that's what Fofana is about. Bayern makes sense to him. See a club like Leipzig and Napoli, I don't see why you would go. Potentially Fulham, again, because it's a Premier League club. You do well at Fulham, actually. Arsenal would be fantastic at, Liverpool would be fantastic, and Chelsea would be fantastic at in terms of the systems they play, the setups they have, and the impact he can have as a player on that left-hand side. So just very, very interesting to know that Lyon and Forest have agreed a deal for Fofana, but the player still hasn't agreed to anything. He's waiting for Champions League clubs. And there's a list of clubs here, Champions League football: Bayern Munich, Napoli, I think Leipzig have got Champions League, Arsenal, Chelsea, Liverpool. He's got his pick of clubs, and there's a reason why there's this long list of clubs interested in him, because of the talent that he possesses. So just wanted to bring this to you because I'm hoping that Chelsea really pursue this. He is the youngster out of most of the youngsters we've signed that I'm like, we need to secure him. It makes so much sense if we go and bag him. 51 million, mate, he would definitely, you'd still have resale value in 4 or 5 years, because honestly, what a player he is at such a young age. But I would love to know your thoughts and opinions down below regarding Malick Fofana. Would you go for him over Mohamed Kudus? Would you prefer Kudus? Would you just go for Malick Fofana because of the potential he has? And out of this list of clubs, who do you feel that he ends up at if he doesn't end up at Chelsea? And that's your latest Chelsea news. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything that's been reported down below in the comments. I love having a conversation with you guys. And if you have watched this video all the way to the end, firstly, you're a real one, and I mean that, you're a real one. But secondly, there'll be a thumbnail appears on the screen. So if you are a Chelsea fan who enjoys Chelsea content, make sure you click that thumbnail because you'll enjoy that video too.